Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to the KSL.com Game Center podcast. It is Thursday, January 26th. And for those of you BYU fans, it is St. Mary's week for both men's and women's hoops. So we are joined today by KSL.com BYU beat writer Sean Walker. How are we doing this fine morning, Sean?
I'm doing a lot better now, Kayla, because I saw you get on here with Ryan. I saw you get on here with Josh. So talking Jazz, talking Utes. And then all of a sudden, my mentions were flooded on Instagram. I had everybody tagging me in their stories going, KSL's going communist. Why don't they care about BYU anymore? What is this bias? What's going on here? So I'm just excited that you finally corrected those ways.
Yeah, no, I'm always happy to give our friends down south a shot and some exposure.
Rep your alma mater.
Repping the alma mater. Don't want
That's
to get too biased as Game Center is a neutral platform here. We represent all Utah sports across the state.
We are a nonprofit entity over at KSL.com.
It's a big weekend for BYU hoops. We haven't had a chance yet on this podcast feed to talk specifically about BYU hoops. Certainly interesting seasons for both the men and the women, coming off of successful seasons for both teams, and what is seen as rebuilding / retooling seasons of some sort for both teams. Women's team with a new head coach. Men's team losing some stalwart veterans there while keeping Mark Pope as the head coach. But as I mentioned, it's a big weekend for both these teams, taking on forever WCC favorite rival the St. Mary's Gales this weekend. Women on the road, men here at home in the Marriott Center. So let's start with the women as they'll be traveling to California this weekend to take on the Gales. Or they play tonight, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thursday night, 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That's over on the WCC network if you want to stream it. Yeah. Right there. 11-9 BYU, 10-10 St. Mary's. St. Mary's is actually picked to finish in the top half of the conference, and that's not looking so good after they suspended their coach for a little while for undisclosed reasons. And BYU's been a little bit of the surprise of the conference, I think, as officially the third best team in the league and looking like a very strong candidate for that same third best team in the league under first-year head coach Amber Whiting.
Yeah, and obviously a big part of that, we wanted to talk about Lauren Gustin, the forward for BYU women's basketball, who, obviously after the transfer of Shaylee Gonzalez was seen as the player, the guy, the star of this team, right? And she has filled that role wonderfully. One of the nation's leaders in rebounding, double machine on a nightly basis. And we've talked about a couple times, she should be kind of a perennial WCC player of the week favorite, but did not get it this week, and maybe a little bit underrated, despite the numbers she's putting up this year.
Yeah. How many people are underrated as officially the second best double queen in the entire NCAA? And it literally depends on who plays when. It's between BYU's Lauren Gustin and LSU's Angel Reese, who I don't want to take anything away from Angel. She's barely set an all-time LSU mark with her 20th straight double. So she's doing incredible things as well. But Lauren Gustin is averaging a double, 16 points and 16 rebounds, 16 rebounds and 15 points per game.
Averaging a 16-16. That's absurd.
Yeah, 15.8 points if you want to be exact, 16.2 rebounds. Leading the nation with 16.3 rebounds per game. She's number one in total rebounds at 325. She's number one in defensive rebounds per game. I think she's number 2 or 3 in offensive rebounds per game. When you put up those kinds of numbers, you're going to be pretty high up in both aspects. And then she's got a double in 19 of the last 20 games. She's approaching an incredible mark, which I think we need to give a shout out. Shout out to our mutual friend Kenny Cox from BYU Sports Information for teeing me up with this. But with 48 doubles on her career and 963 career rebounds, Lauren Gustin is approaching a mark of 50 double-doubles and 1,000 total career rebounds that has only been reached one other time in BYU women's basketball history, and that was by the great Tina Gunn Robinson way back
Wow.
in the late 70s, early 80s. So one of only a handful of players to have her number. Tina Gunn Robinson's one of only a handful of players to have her jersey hanging in the rafters at the Marriott Center. And Lauren Gustin is two double doubles away, about 37 or so career rebounds away from joining that esteemed company. Like, just being in that conversation, I think is pretty impressive. And maybe it's going a little bit overlooked because, again, this BYU team, they're 11-9 on the season, 6-3 in WCC play. I think that's better than a lot of people expected them to be, but not necessarily like a gangbuster type season. So maybe a little bit of what Lauren's doing, you're right, Caleb, it's going kind of unappreciated or overlooked.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, if they want to get that road win tonight in Moraga, she'll obviously have to play a big role. But there are also some role players, some other people leading the charge for the women. You got Nani Falatea, of course, and Ariel Mackey Williams. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a surprising season for this team that these younger players have really kind of just matured and filled in these roles that were left behind by a lot of solid veterans last year. They've just filled them in really well, I think.
Yeah, and filling in a new role is a really good way to describe it because these are all, I mean, outside of Gustin, these were primarily role players last year. Like you mentioned Nani Falatea, she was kind of a sort of a halftime starter last year as a freshman, the freshman out of East High School in Salt Lake City. Played her senior year at Harriman, but she claims East, so I'm going to give her East right there. She was sort of a 50-50 starter in a lot of ways last year because she played behind mostly point guard Maria Carvalho or Maria, sorry, excuse me, Maria Albiero, and Paisley Harding and Shaylee Gonzalez that you mentioned a little bit before. Nani started here and there, but not terribly a ton. And now she started every game. She's averaging 14.7 points, 4.4 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 4.2 steals per game, which is pretty impressive. But I think the thing that's impressed me the most about Nani is she's barely coming off of the floor. She's playing 34.2 minutes per game. That is second on the team to only Gustin, who plays just shy of 38 minutes a game. Lauren Gustin almost literally never comes off the floor. She's actually told Coach Whiting a couple times. I've been sitting behind the bench when Coach will try to pull her off the floor, and she'll kind of turn to her and hold her hand up like, "I'm good, Coach. I'm good. Leave me out here." She's like, "No, you've literally gone 36 minutes without a break. Like, you need a break." And she's like, "No, I'm good, really. I'm fine." Um, but Nani's kind of the same way. Like she scored in double figures in all but 3 games this year. She's got a couple of double doubles on the season. She's number 2 in scoring overall, 3 20-point games this season. Like just going from role player, like again, she played last year, but very much a role player, single digit scoring, to being one of those go-to offensive threats, certainly at least number 2 behind Lauren Gustin, I think is really impressive. And then beyond that, you mentioned Ari Mackey Williams, Kaylee Smiler coming off of a knee injury. Emma Calvert been stepping up and playing 17.9 minutes a game as kind of that second post player next to Gustin. Rose Bubakar has been noted a lot for her energy, whether it's starting or off the bench. She started 11 for 20 games played. Amanda Barcelo is a very stereotypical, like she is a pure Amber Whiting player, a 3-and-D type player, averaging 22 minutes a game, a couple points, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, etc. And yes, if that name does sound familiar, that is Alex Barcelo's younger sister. So we call her AB around the program as well because she is the only AB on campus anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
Keeping the tradition alive. Gotta love it.
That's right. That's right. There will always be an AB with one of the BYU basketball programs, I hope.
Amazing. Yeah, great stuff. I will always follow this women's team. They're just a joy to watch. They've always played the right way. And I'll be a fan of BYU women's basketball. Probably till the day I die. And I think we have to give respect where respect is due for Coach Amber Whiting. I think there were questions around her hire coming straight from the high school ranks to Division I BYU basketball. But hey, she's led this team to a winning record, playing winning basketball. And they've got a shot to get another win tonight in Moraga. So big time matchup there. Let's move on real quick to the men's team. Chat about them. They're having an interesting season. Certainly, I think not what a lot of people might have expected on their end as well. A little bit up and down, but they have another huge opportunity to kind of prove themselves this Saturday with St. Mary's coming to town. Just maybe give a quick little preview on what you're expecting to see this Saturday at the Marriott Center, Sean.
Yeah, this is a game that I think a lot of people had circled on their calendar about 2 weeks ago. St. Mary's cracking the top 25. They had just cracked the coaches poll about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And then this week, they just cracked the AP top 25, sliding in at number 22. So it was always going to be a big game. It was always going to be a big matchup. And you had hopes, I think, coming off of that 1 point last second home loss to Gonzaga, that BYU could make this a real game, that it could be a good game. But then BYU went to the Bay Area and lost back-to-back games at Santa Clara, at San Francisco, really struggled with the two teams' physicality. And if there's a team in this league, in the West Coast Conference, that is known for being physical, it is Randy Bennett and the St. Mary's Gales. 18-4 on the year, 7-0 in conference play, the only undefeated team in the league after Gonzaga's surprise home loss to LMU last week. This is once again a very, very good team that has Randy Bennett DNA. It seems like the names change, but the everything that his fingerprints are so are so just tied to that program that they're kind of going to be the same team no matter what. They're the fourth best scoring defense in all of NCAA Division I, holding opponents to 57.2 points per game. So I don't know how exciting this game is going to be. Because I know BYU had been playing pretty good defense up until last week against Santa Clara and San Francisco, but they need a bounce back game. And if they get it this week, it's probably not going to come with a whole lot of offense.
Yeah, I think we're really going to have to depend on our guys, paper and scissors there in the rock to rattle those St. Mary's free throw shooters, huh?
Rock, paper, scissors, probably the three best players. Followed very closely, I will say, by Rudy Williams, who's been on a tear coming off of the bench for BYU. He's one of only, I think, three players in the NCAA with 20 or with 3 or more 20-point or more games coming off of the bench. Like ever since he moved out of the starting lineup, he's been absolutely incredible. So we will give a little bit of due to Rudy Williams. He's been really, really good. He's one of just 2 Cougars all time. Matt Carlino is the other good friend of the show, who have scored 28 points or more off of the bench. That's the 5th most by a bench player in program history. So shout out to Rudy Williams as well.
And a much due shout out to Matt Carlino. He was among my first introduction to BYU hoops when I was a freshman in 2013. Matt Carlino was on that squad. And man, hard not to root for that guy. His energy, that was very fun. But you mentioned Rudy Williams leading the team in scoring right now, which I was very surprised to see. 12.8 points per game. Fus Traore leading their team in rebounding, 7.8 rebounds per game. Obviously, he's always a force down low. And you mentioned physicality. He'll certainly be counted on a lot to show up at home against the Gales.
I mean, I think this game probably goes about as far as the post players, Foose and Atiki Eliatiki, can kind of take this team. Like Spencer Johnson is probably the best overall player. Rudy Williams is probably the best offensive player. Gideon George has certainly had his moments in there as well. But I think this team goes as far against St. Mary's as the big broad shoulders of Fousseyni Traore and Atiki Eliatiki are able to carry them.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to both these games. Women facing off with St. Mary's tonight. The men against St. Mary's on Saturday at the Marriott Center in Provo. Appreciate you coming on today, Sean, and giving us a little update on that Cougar beat.
No, thanks for having me on, and I look forward to tomorrow's show where we will dissect all things state competitive cheer competition.
And possibly soccer. You'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe that too. Maybe that.
Excellent. Well, we will see you guys next time on the KSL.com Game Center podcast.